But Spencer, to anybody that can hear me, I am so grateful that you were my son and so thankful to be your mom. I know you struggled to be clean, and it was spurred on by your love of me and your family. I respect, I love, and I honor you for that. My heart will always ache that your daughter will never know your laughter or your love.
It was an emotional gathering at the Burlington Town Common this past Sunday, and one that brought a group of people together who had one purpose: to give aid to those suffering from heroin addiction and to provide information and support to their families and loved ones. It was a memorial for Spencer Christian Wessel, who died of a heroin overdose early this year at the age of 28. But it was also in many ways a memorial for everyone who had died from the disease of addiction, a number that is rising as opioid and heroin use continues to grow at an alarming rate. I asked Sabrina Bembenek, Spencer's mother, what inspired her to hold this public memorial.
My son died in February 1st, and I couldn't have a service. I just, it was how much I loved him, and I wasn't willing to stand any place and share any kind of comment or anything. And all of a sudden in June and July, I started noticing all the children that were dying and trying to tell people, look, and it wasn't like anyone cared.
To make the memorial come together, Sabrina worked with Billy Pfaff, founder of the group Heroin is Killing My Town. Through that group, Billy works to ensure families and loved ones of those addicted to heroin have the resources they need to help. He spoke of the need of events such as this to get people to see how big a problem drug use has become in all communities.
Today we're here to raise awareness because it's affecting a lot of these communities and people don't even realize what it's doing. Heroin's wiping out generations of people. So we're here today to raise awareness, and we're here today to get the community out here, to wake them up.
About 40 people attended the memorial, a smaller number than might be expected considering the recent rise of opioid addiction and deaths. No town or state officials were in attendance. Event organizers were not surprised, however, saying many people don't think this will hit their families or their community.
Yeah, there's a big problem. That's what we're trying to stop also, is the stigma. There's a lot of stigma here. There's a lot of hate with this drug. If you had said they were doing a cancer benefit today, this common would be full. But when you deal with drugs and heroin, especially heroin, people kind of shun and turn their heads until it affects their home.
Many of the people who spoke at the memorial, most of whom were recovering from heroin addiction, said the biggest obstacle to getting support for heroin addicts is the perceptions the general community has of them. They said sharing their stories and highlighting the positive things they have done after kicking heroin can both help inspire those struggling to stop and change the way the public sees addicts.
There's such a bad rap with people who struggle with substance abuse, and the fact is some of the most amazing people that I know have gone through the struggle. And until we start getting more of these stories out, the positives, even though I know we're here because of somebody passing, but I mean there's still hope for other people who are going through it. So that's why I try to put my story out there, and I try to speak whenever I can.
And I just think that now is a good time, that it's that people need to break their silence, break the anonymity, let people know that we do recover, and that there's a lot of help out there, and there is treatment, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and that there's a lot of good people in long-term recovery, and it's not that whole stigma of what people think an addict is. I've done some beautiful things in my life, and I like to share that message to anybody that's struggling.
Another message the speakers had was that it is time to stop thinking of people addicted to drugs as different than anyone else, and to realize it can happen to people in any community and at all social and economic levels.
Because these people aren't just like the city bums holding the door open to 7-Eleven for you. These are head cheerleaders, these are football players, these are straight A students, honor roll, kids that went to college. I mean, addiction doesn't have a face. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, rich or poor, gay or straight. I mean, it affects everybody equally.
I've met parents where they just refuse to believe that it's happening to their kid. They'd rather turn away, look away, because if they don't see it, it's not happening.
Nobody knows that addiction can strike anyone better than John Green, who lost his son Evan to a heroin overdose when the boy was 19 years old.
A lot of people say, not my kid, you know what I mean? That's ignorance, We need to educate and let them know, because it's going to happen to anybody. Happen to any kid, congressman, fireman, anyone. You know, and that's the problem. You know, it's not about any type of person, any type of way you had your kid grow up. You know, all it takes is one little main pain pill. You know what I mean? You get your wisdom teeth taken out, and you take that perk. And all of a sudden, it takes away all your pains, and then you start chasing it. And then once you shoot that needle, 5% chance that you can get off that.
Finally, Sabrina said it was time to get beyond the stigma and misperceptions and to treat addiction for what it is, a disease.
Or people give you a look. It's like, you got cancer back in the 50s. Oh, they have cancer. Well, now they are addicted. So what are we going to do? We're going to stand up and say no more, like we did for HIV? No more? It's time.
From the Spencer Christian Wessel Memorial on the Burlington Town Common, I'm B News Director Rich Hosford. Back to you in the studio.